Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In chapter 1061, it seems we may have finally met our mysterious Dr. Vegapunk, considered the greatest scientist in the world of One Piece, the one responsible for creating immensely powerful weapons such as the pacifistas and the new seraphims, and even be responsible for starting the research of artificial devil fruits. For most of our story, this mysterious Dr. Vegapunk is hidden in the shadows, and few people really even seem to know him. Only those that have worked alongside him during the research may have seen his face during all the chapters where we saw maybe a shadow or he was mentioned but never revealed. In the next chapter of One Piece, chapter 1062, it is very likely we're going to get a much greater focus on this mysterious character, and perhaps even reveal to us great secrets of the One Piece universe, and maybe even allowing the Straw Hats to become all the more powerful. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the next events that'll take place in chapter 1062, what this mysterious character could reveal, what his next goals might be, and what the Straw Hats' interaction with Vegapunk could ultimately be. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like or even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or your favorite with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, Dr. Vegapunk is a great scientist and has been instrumental in giving the Marines a tactical advantage over the world and giving them more powers to capture pirates and seek out their enemies. For instance, through the area of geology, he was able to find and explore different uses for the use of sea prism stone, and found ways to prevent sea kings from destroying Marine ships, and even found further ways to strengthen their weapons. These improvements made the ships not only more durable, but also made them seemingly invisible to sea kings and enabled Marine ships to cross the calm belt, which is something that no other types of ships can do in the world. Through his explorations in the field of biology, Vegapunk discovered, with the help of Vince Smoke Judge, the Lineage Factor. Now this has been something very important within the universe of One Piece, but it just hasn't been explained very well. But Vegapunk may know a lot at this point and be able to share much more about the Lineage Factor. Because of this research into the Lineage Factor, Vegapunk got more knowledge and it was able to do research on the origin of devil fruits and find out what they really are, how they react in the human body, and even the deeper origins and secrets that the fruits might hold. Through this research, Vegapunk tried to replicate devil fruits and used the Bigapunk, or the light fruit, as his first test fruit, so that more than one user could have this devastatingly powerful fruit's effects. However, Vegapunk ended up dropping this research. Now, whether it was his failure to replicate it, or maybe his fear that it may be used in the wrong ways, Vegapunk just gave up his research on devil fruits. But this had the consequence of allowing Caesar to get his research and start it up again. And in this vein, he attempted to create new artificial devil fruits and created the Smile. Because of his deep knowledge of the subject, it's likely that Vegapunk is going to reveal some really great secrets about the devil fruits in the coming chapters. Because not only has he researched these for many years, but he was able to somehow, at least from the outside, reproduce them. And he's tried many different ways to replicate it, and may have even come close to creating the perfect artificial devil fruit. More importantly, Vegapunk will also be able to explain to the Straw Hats the origin of every devil fruit's power, and how the Lineage Factor is responsible for making this power that resides inside the devil fruit pass to the person who eats it, and how they then give them these incredibly strange or wonderful powers. After all, during an SBS, it was Oda himself that said a great scientist would appear in the future to explain much more about the devil fruits. Now, a scientist really hasn't appeared in the work so far, not until now, because in the last chapter, Vegapunk seemingly appeared. Now, whether this is the true identity or perhaps a robot figure that Vegapunk uses, because if you looked at the manga panels, there was a designation on her clothing just like we've seen on the pacifistas and the robot shark and the giant mecha that we saw in our last chapter. But either which way, Vegapunk has revealed himself, and although he has this appearance of a young girl with short hair and seems to be just really thoughtful and happy, this honestly comes across as something very different than what we expected, because in every other shadowy panel, we've expected Vegapunk to frankly be an old man. But getting back to Vegapunk's knowledge, we know that he is an expert about the Lineage Factor, which means that not only does he know how devil fruits work, he may even be able to explain the reasons why a person who eats 2 devil fruits is going to lose their life. After all, this is a doubt that has long existed within the world of One Piece, and we had never seen that there was even a myth or a tale that somebody had ever, had two devil fruit powers at the same time. What we've always been told is that some devil or spirit lives inside the fruit, and when one eats a second fruit, the second spirit or demon fights with the first, and in that ensuing battle, the person ends up dying. So Vegapunk may be able to shed some very important light on why Teach can possess two devil fruits, something that also has been a long hidden secret, because it all must encompass something about the Lineage Factor. So far, only the most basic details about Lineage Factor, which honestly was an explanation that kinda left us with more questions than answers. It seems to do with the interaction of the devil fruit and how it changes the body. It's said that everyone has a bloodline factor, and when it's changed, it's possible to make an ordinary human being able to possess immensely great powers and abilities. As in the case of the Vinsmoke family, the quadruplets had their bloodline factor changed and became very powerful physically and much more durable, because remember, none of Sanji's siblings have devil fruit powers. It has only been through the manipulation of the Lineage Factor that gave them their powers. So perhaps it's the way that the Lineage Factor changes its bearer and bestows these incredible powers that make it so difficult to replicate. I mean, even, at least as far as we know, the greatest scientists haven't been able to create a perfect artificial devil fruit. But if we get a full, detailed explanation of what the Lineage Factor is, we'll be able to learn much more about how the body is changed, and the concept that all living things are connected. We'll also get a greater understanding about how that Lineage Factor connects everything. In many discussions, the Lineage Factor has been said to be the model of life itself, much like what we consider DNA, and it's present in all living organisms. But it was discovered by a research team led by Dr. Vegapunk and Vinsmoke Judge, two great scientists who may have great and deep ability to alter genetic material. Now, to be fair, it's not exactly known how they were able to discover the Lineage Factor, nor even how much they may have discovered about the concept. But the knowledge they do have about it is enough to give the Straw Hats and us a much more understandable explanation of what this concept is. Because this has still remained a mystery, which means that Oda has been holding on to this for a reason, and we're finally, hopefully, gonna get to know more. But going back to what Oda said in the SBS that a great scientist would explain about the Lineage Factor. As we know, there's more than one person who might be able to give this answer about devil fruits, and it's not just Vegapunk, but it's also Judge. And we do know that Judge and the Vinsmoke family does have something important in the works because of the cover story where we saw that they were liberating Caesar from Tottleland. So if Judge was gonna be the one to reveal devil fruit secrets on Tottleland, he would have done it, which means that maybe he may not know as much, or he wasn't the scientist that Oda was talking about. And speaking of these two lead scientists and their discoveries, we know that it also seems that they took it in two different directions. Vegapunk took the Lineage Factor and started working on artificial devil fruits, while Judge specialized in changing the genetics through the Lineage Factor so his sons and daughters would be born more powerful. And with everything else he was able to put into Germa 66 and all of the genetically modified soldiers at their disposal, this could have been something that he actually achieved. But Vegapunk, on the other hand, didn't seem to have the same success as Judge. Vegapunk had a lot of setbacks, so he couldn't create that perfect devil fruit. And there were just these flaws where he saw that maybe he just wouldn't get him anywhere. So he gave up the project. But it also could have been maybe he recognized the danger in this research. But again, we know that this allowed Caesar to come in and find Vegapunk's old artificial fruit research, which allowed him to create the Smile Fruit. Since then, Vegapunk seems to have been focusing his research on the Pacifistas and most recently the Seraphim. But this also means that the research on the Lineage Factor is still gotta be active, because he's gotta have much more knowledge in order to create these amazing machines. And as it seems that Vegapunk is able to enhance these abilities, this would give the Straw Hats the ability to learn from him. And because he can fully explain what this Lineage Factor is, this would also allow Sanji to even improve his abilities. After all, Sanji was supposed to have had his Lineage Factor modified since he was in his mother's womb, and it was only due to the fact that she took poison that had seemed to deactivate these genes or these changes. But recently in Wano, as he put in and used the raid suit, we saw that these changes took effect. So if Vegapunk could tell him a little bit more about how he's changing, he could not only enhance them further, but also take care of Sanji's fear of losing his humanity. But everything we're talking about is gonna be a little bit difficult at the moment, because Vegapunk is, at least right now, not an ally of the Straw Hats, much less the ally of any pirates. I mean, he is under the guise of the world government. However, we saw that he showed no hatred or enmity in his expression when seeing the Straw Hats in person for the first time. But during their appearance in this last chapter, Vegapunk confirmed that they had been hired by the world government. So his goal, at least at present, is gonna be to finish off the pirates. But there's also a possibility that Vegapunk will at some point make at least a brief alliance with the Straw Hats because he has some kind of interest in them. For all we know, Vegapunk is most likely on the side of the world government because of the equipment and resources that the world government can provide for his research, allowing him to do things without suffering any penalties under the law. So Vegapunk, at least for now, is seemingly on the world government's side. However, if Vegapunk is at his heart and core a scientist, he would be one that would want to seek out knowledge of everything. So he may not even care about the pirates or the world government and all the politics. Vegapunk just wants to learn and do his experiments with state-of-the-art equipment, which could indicate that Vegapunk will not only be able to help the Straw Hats, but he might even make it possible for Franky to upgrade as well during this new arc. Because Vegapunk's island was where Franky was sent during the time skip, and we've seen what Vegapunk can do with robot creations and everything he's done with the pacifistas and Seraphim, from Kuma to now these child warlords. So because of this connection between Franky and Vegapunk and what Franky could have learned during the time skip on his home island, this could create a bond where Vegapunk would be able to help Franky improve his body and get different techniques and add on to all the great inventions Franky already has, giving a great boost to this character because we've seen Franky do things, but he, like some of the other members of the crew, hasn't maybe gotten so much shine lately as the other ones. So however we end up learning it, the exciting thing is that we have finally encountered Vegapunk, and we're going to be able to learn so much more about all of these devil fruits and all of the other really cool secrets that he has learned about this world of One Piece. And for now, we'd love to know what you think about it. First, do you think the young female that we saw is really Vegapunk? Or do you think, like others in the community think, that she is rather an extension because of the marks on her clothing, and Vegapunk is still an old man, but just piloting her from afar with his high-level technology? Second, what do you think the knowledge and how do you think we're going to learn more about these devil fruits? Do you think that if he tells the Straw Hats about it, he might offer his help? And also, what do you think about the crew or certain individuals would really intrigue Vegapunk enough that he might want to skip town and go learn with them? And finally, do you think that Franky's gonna have a moment where he's gonna be able to connect with Vegapunk? I mean, after all, he was on his island for more than 2 years, so what do you think Franky knows about Vegapunk, and could that be a way in for the Straw Hats to not get crushed? Let us know what you think in the comments below. But with all that said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up our video for the day. But before we go, we want to thank you all so much for watching the video all the way up to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.